Welcome to the World Hard Enduro podcast. In this episode, we speak about the roof of Africa, the mother of hard enduro. We start off with an interview with Mercia from Motul, South Africa, as well as an interview from Teodor Kabachiev, a factory Sherco rider. Lastly, we discuss internally amongst our team what you as a spectator or rider can expect from the roof of Africa this year. Be sure to skip through the chapters to any specific points if you're looking for specific information. We hope you enjoy this episode. Now, to kick us off, Brandon, you have an interview with Mercia herself telling us more about Motul's involvement in the roof of Africa. So we'll head straight into that first.
All right. What's up, Mercia Jansen? Welcome to the World Hard Enduro podcast.
Thanks, guys. It's happy to be here and to chat to you guys. Thanks for having me.
For the listeners that are tuning in, do you mind just briefly introducing yourself and tell us exactly what it is that you actually do at Motul?
Okay, so I'm the general manager for Southern and Eastern Africa and Indian Ocean. So we have an office in Johannesburg, and we look after that part of the African continent.
That's so cool. And I think a question that you probably get asked a lot, how did you get involved with motorsports and then Motul as well?
Yeah, so I actually have like an interesting journey, which is like a long story that I won't get into, but basically almost all my experience was tick, 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 tick that made me ready for this role. But yeah, it's kind of full circle. You know, I do have a chemistry degree, so it's like a bit of technical to get into the oil industry and what the chemical parts of oil. But I grew up with motorcycles. My dad was a motorcyclist. He loved cars. You know, he was tinkering in the garage. So I played with cars way before I played with Barbie dolls, but I did play with both. So it was just always a passion of it, always watching racing, my dad riding and growing up around it. So yeah, kind of, I had my journey through a working career, and then this opportunity came with Motul, and it was where my skill set and my passion collided, and this is how it all began. And just the interesting story, when I did my interview, it was like, okay, you've had your own business, entrepreneurial, cool, we need that. You have a technical background, we need that, and blah blah blah. But when I told them I ride motorcycles, big tick, this is a good fit for Motul. So yeah.
It's crazy how the stars aligned. I think that passion for the industry and the sport that you are pretty much working in is such a key role and quality and trait to have when working inside the motorsports industry. But let's speak a little bit about the Roof of Africa. It's coming up now in November. I want to know a little bit more about what is your involvement as Motul inside the 2024 Roof of Africa?
Yeah, so interestingly, we actually realized this week that this is our 10th year that we involved with Roof of Africa. So we're actually having a bit of a celebration. We started in 2014. So so it's really cool. 2016 we were title, and then in 2022 we became the official lubricant partner, which we still are now for 2024. We have a long history with Roof, always been involved, and again this year. And we're the official lubricant partners, so we promote the right products. And then we always give back by giving the bike wash. People have gotten to know that we offer the bike wash. When the guys have been in the mountains for several hours and they're tired, the last thing they want to do is wash their bikes. So we offer that service for them, is to help them out. And also the other thing about it as well is we use a biodegradable wash. So doing this event in the mountains is also important to look after our environment and the place and respect the place we're in. That we give that, and we then also give some chain servicing afterwards, free of charge, just to help the guys out to be ready for the next day. And also another thing that we do is every year, because we're passionate and we're involved, the whole team goes down, not only to look after the branding, but also just to be there as a support, to say we support you guys, we will cheer you on, we will stay there till the last guy comes in, and also help the organizers and just be an extra pair of hands.
That's so cool. And as a rider of the roof myself, I actually clearly remember using that bike wash service as well back in, I think it was 2013 or 2012, a couple, 10 years ago now. So that's really cool. I also have a distinct memory of a t-shirt gun, like a t-shirt cannon, shooting it off at the top of Bushman's, where guys were shooting Motul t-shirts from the top, which is really cool. So you've been You've been the title sponsor for this race now for, as you said, 10 years, and you've been around for all of those 10 years. I'm pretty sure you have a very interesting perspective of the Roof of Africa. Do you have one point that really stands out to you actually, from these 10 years of racing and being part of it?
Yeah, I mean, just I haven't personally been involved for 10 years. I joined
Right.
Motul in 2017. And yeah, also, we've been the title for 5 years. But you know what for me stands out from the route, because we've got history and we've got legacy and we've got experience with it now, and also talking to the people who were there from the beginning. I mean, two things stand out for me, and I can always say every roof is the same. It's one, for me, roof is one big reunion of the motorcycle industry. It's literally almost a big year-end party, where everybody gets together. It brings the industry together. You get to see people you haven't seen for the whole year. You spend time with your dealers. You spend time with the riders. You spend time with their families. So it really just feels like one big reunion of the motorcycle industry that is so special, and it gets me every year. And the other thing that stands out for me, well, actually there's a third thing, but the second thing is every year there's a moment that I'm in tears. Every year there's a moment where somebody's fight to the end is just so incredible that it brings me to tears. Just the will and determination that comes out of these riders and what they go through. So that for me is special about the roof, and I think that's what makes hard enduro special. It's I know it's such a controversial subject, but when you see what these guys have to go through and what they push through, that's it hits you in the feels. So and then of course the beauty of Lesotho. I mean, it's the mountain kingdom. It's just every year there's a moment that one view takes my breath away.
Yeah. And it's always for me at the top of Bushman's or close to the finish line where you see that the biggest determination of these riders coming through. And here on the podcast, we think that hard enduro and then coupled with the roof is just such an underrated sport for that. You don't really see what these guys are doing and girls are doing inside the mountains or inside the riverbeds, and it's quite intense what they get up to out there, and you only see snippets of it, and even those snippets can bring through emotion to bring you to the point of tears, which is pretty cool, I think, in a sport. And I would like to also know more about your sponsorship for riders and any teams that are attending this event this year. Can you tell us more about who you're sponsoring?
Yeah, so it's always difficult to list all of them, and there's quite a few people that we do partner with. So, kind of at the risk of not letting anybody out and going through a long list, I'll just maybe highlight one of the maybe key ones. So, we have a partnership with Sherco, which is a 360 partnership. So we actually the oil for their first fill. So, it's a global partnership. And I think, there's definitely something to look out for at this year's Ruth, because we've got Teodor coming, and it's his first roof, so that's really cool. So that's a big partnership for us. And then of course we've got Brett Swanepoel that I think wants to prove something after last year's roof, so that's something to look out for. And then part of the Sherco team as well, the Trademore Sherco team is Damon Carell, and he's a son of our distributor in Swaziland, so of course that's close to the Motul family. And then we also ongoing partnership with Wade. So even though he's not part of Sherco anymore, we are supporting him for this year's roof, because we've worked with him for many years. So that's just some of the highlights, and I think that's some of the ones that will definitely get some attention at this year's roof. And I think Sherco also wants to prove something, because they've won I think it's 6 or 7 years in a row now, Sherco, and last year they took the podium, so I think they also have something to prove this year.
Yeah, it's really cool to see the battle of these titans, and you mentioned it and early inside in our conversation how it's a family reunion, and that's what it is also for our international riders, like Wade Young and all these top riders. You get Matthew Green, and as well, unfortunately Matthew Green will probably not be racing due to injury or surgery, but all these guys come back from overseas and start basically enter the race where they used to be racing with their friends and their family throughout their racing career, which is pretty cool. I'm going to put you on the spot here, and I actually want to ask you, what is a product that a rider that is traveling to the Roof of Africa to compete, what is a product from Motul that they should not forget inside their van?
Moto cool. I think, it's you are putting me on the spot because I want to say all of it, what
Yeah.
I mean? We actually, a little bit of marketing, So we actually have a road to roof kit that we've launched. Yeah, so it actually contains everything you need. The 2-stroke oil, the 4-stroke oil if you have a 4-stroke. It's got the chain clean, chain lube. It's got helmet and visor clean, and we've got boost and clean. We have a new fuel additive, which is important at Lesotho, with the bad fuels. So it will help with the bad fuel quality. So this kit's available. But if I have to choose one product, it will be Motul, because the bikes get hot, and you want to keep you fighting up rocks, and it will help keep it cool.
Does any of the development of these products take place in South Africa, with regards to Motul 2-stroke oils, or is it done overseas?
Yeah, I mean, most of it, we always kind of say what we like about what Motul does is they use races as their laboratories. So, we don't often, when we partner with races, we also use it as a laboratory. At Dakar, prototype oils or coolants or brake fluids are being tested, at the race. So all over the world, we use many different races as our kind of live laboratories, our living laboratories to test. We don't specifically test some of the bike products in South Africa, but what is quite interesting is we recently launched the bicycle range, and a lot of those products are now being tested in South Africa because our conditions are a lot harsher than Europe, and they've realized, okay, this is a good testing ground for the products. So so they are starting to test a bit more globally in different areas where they realize, okay, this is a better environment to test it. So we are currently testing a bicycle product in South Africa.
That's really good to know. I think that the racers should take note of that as well, because these products are so important for your motorcycle. If you don't put chain lube on, just the simple things on your motorcycle to keep it race ready and to keep it operating at premium quality, you need to keep up to date with it. And if you don't, it could be an end of a roof, and you don't want that. You don't want a chain to snap or anything to go wrong on your bike. So I definitely agree. But so thank you for taking the time to chat with us today. We've got an interview with Teodor Kabachiev coming up next, actually. So as you mentioned, his first time coming to the Roof of Africa, first time in Africa, and I think the listeners are going to really enjoy this interview. It's definitely a bit unorthodox, but I think it's going to be quite cool for everyone. So let's just say I'm hoping that he's going to enjoy a nice braai when he's out there for the first time.
Okay, and we're back in the studio. Brandon, very interesting discussion you had there with Mercia, and may I just say, hats off to the woman in the sport. She is a bundle of joy, very enthusiastic, and awesome to hear the good work that her and her whole team are doing in the enduro scene.
Absolutely. I love that it seems like the Motul team is so invested in the Roof of Africa, them going to the race, the whole team, helping up the riders, giving an extra hand to those who need it. I thought that was really sick. And I thought that the bike wash is a very underrated thing, especially the fact that they have a biodegradable bike wash. I mean, pretty perfect for, the industry and going more towards the green side of things. I thought that was really, really cool.
Yeah, and you caught her off guard there, but it seemed like she had played her cards very well, doing both advertising, marketing, and catering to the masses. And awesome that Motul has that set up for the guys at Roof of Africa, the Motul bundle. I can't remember what exactly she called it, but that's super cool that they have that on hand and ready to go for the boys.
So it's called Road to the Roof. And actually, speaking of someone that's on his way to Lesotho, to the Roof of Africa, our next guest, Teodor Kabachiev, the Sherco Factory racing rider, is making his way to Lesotho for the first time ever. So we're going to hop straight into that interview with him and then catch you back straight after that one. What's up, Teodor Kabachiev? Welcome to the World Hard Enduro podcast, man.
Hello. Thank you for having me on the podcast.
Yeah, first of all, I need to congratulate you for such an epic 2024 Hard Enduro World Championship season. I think that you had quite a good season, especially that everything was new for you, right? New bike, new team. How is your feeling with the new bike and the new team at the moment?
Honestly, I like it a lot. I like the bike. I like my team. And I feel like I have improved a lot. I set pretty high expectations on myself, so I know that I can do better, but in the same time, I had some good races this year.
Yeah, for sure. What part of the team and the bike was the most different between your old setup and your new setup?
Well, it's a completely different bike. Let's start, the chassis feels different. I noticed immediately that I can go faster, easier on the Sherco. And when I made the change, I didn't improve overnight, like I didn't change my riding for a few days. So it was a difference that I noticed immediately. And then also the power. The Sherco has a lot of power. So I had to get used to that.
What are you doing to the motorcycle to try and curb that power? Because I've also heard that the Shercos have quite a bit of power behind them. Are you doing anything to the motor to make the power more rideable inside hard enduro conditions?
I liked I liked the bike to be decompressed, so like less compression on the cylinder head, which equals less power, and basically that's what we did. When I stepped in the team, I tried to ride the bike as it was, like with the normal head that is super powerful, but I just found it a little bit harder to control in technical situations. So I would say that I like the bike softer regarding power delivery.
How much different is your bike setup to Mario's bike setup? Did you learn a lot from him when joining the team? I'm sure that you guys shared some notes on what you feel like the bike can do. Is the bike similar, or is it very different setups?
I know that we use Butt for suspension, which is a French tuner, and Mario uses Eric Auger, who is a Spanish guy. So I would say the biggest difference is the suspension. I have not tried his setup, nor I think he has tried mine, but I guess it's just easier for him to work with someone in Spain, and for us a French guy. But the bike anyway, regarding elements on the bike and parts, I would say they're pretty identical, except that Mario uses a lower seat because he's much shorter than me.
Yeah.
And I try to get the bike as high as possible. I use a higher seat, and still I feel like I want it a little bit bigger, It never gets big enough.
Yeah. I think that's that's super interesting, man. But yeah, so in this podcast, we specifically talking about the 2024 Roof of Africa. We hear that you are going to be traveling to Southern Africa, to Lesotho, to be joining this race. I would like to know, this is the first time you've done the Roof of Africa, right?
Correct.
Yeah. What do you think is going to be different from this race compared to other races that you've done inside the Hard Enduro World Championship?
Man, I think I need to ask you questions about this because from what I see, everything looks different, and I don't know what to expect. Like Africa seems wild, and I went through the information that's on the website, and from what I saw, like we will have 3 racing days. The first one will be a prologue around the houses.
Yeah.
Only one race, right?
Yes, only one race.
and then we have 2 long days, around 120, 150 kilometers per day.
Yeah.
But I don't know what to expect. Like, is it dusty? Do we have stops during the race? How many times we refuel? I didn't find data about those things.
Yeah. So from my experience of the race, you can expect a lot of rocks, a lot of loose rock. And if it rains, it does get very slippery, but a really enjoyable race. That said, though, the days tend to be quite long. So 120 Ks can take 7-8 hours to do for gold class, especially if the weather turns on you. But yeah, I think it's quite an enjoyable race. I think for you, your first time not only going to the Roof of Africa, but also going to Lesotho and South Africa, I think that you're going to be quite impressed, and it's going to be interesting for you to absorb the culture. I think that the people there are very cool. They're very happy. They're going to get a lot of high fives on the track. So every time you see a kid or someone with their hand up, you're giving them a high five when you're driving past. So I think that that's going to be the biggest, I think, experience for you. You've done enough racing in your life. I think that you can adapt really well to condition changes and the track itself. But yeah, I think that the culture for you is going to be an awesome change.
And then during those 7-8 hours, do we get to stop for like food and water?
Yeah, usually there is a decontrol inside the middle. I don't know for this race, for this year, if it's going to be a time decontrol where you have 20 minutes to stay in the pits, get some food in. But usually there is a refuel spot where you are usually on the top of a pass or something like that, where your team will be there, and then they'll refuel you, refuel your body, refuel your camel pack, and then you get going again on the next sector of the race.
Okay, and what about food? Like, what's the food in Africa? Like, is it European style or?
I think you're gonna be the biggest for food. The biggest word you're gonna hear is having a braai. So what a braai is basically a barbecue where you're taking your meat and you're putting it on a fire, and you're basically cooking your meat on a fire. So expect a lot of meat. I think that South African culture, we eat a lot of meat, and with a small salad or something on the side. But the food's good though. I think that you shouldn't worry about the food. You're gonna enjoy it.
Okay, yeah, it's important.
Yeah,
I eat a lot of food.
Yeah. No, I think if you're staying also at the it was called the Lesotho Sun. I think it's called something else now. It's a really nice hotel that's got really good food, really good catering there. So you're gonna enjoy it, I think.
Okay. Man.
And then, so my question to you, okay, you don't have many or a good understanding about the race, like it's the first time going there, but do you have any expectations for yourself going there? It's not part of the Hard Enduro World Championship, so it's something completely new for you. You could almost take it as training, but are you going there with any expectations to win or try to get top 3 or something like that?
Well, for sure, I will try to give my best, as it is a race, but also I need a better understanding of the whole format and like when can I eat, where can I get water, because 7-8 hours of racing in a day is a lot. So I will not go racing like a stupid guy, just flat out, because it's not possible to sustain that pace for 7-8 hours. So I need some information to plan the day, but I hope I find it out before the race.
I think Sherco South Africa will have you covered. Don't worry about that. I think that they are a really solid team, and they'll make sure that you are hydrated and well fed throughout your time there. Also, another word from my point or from my side is that a lot of people actually sleep out in the mountains because they just don't have enough time to get back to the checkpoint or to the finish line. and they actually sleep inside the huts where the locals stay. And the people there are really friendly, actually. They take you in, they feed you, they give you food and water and whatever you need. And yeah, it's quite a cool experience. A lot of people do it, and it's good stories that come from it. I don't expect you to be part of that group, but bike problems does happen, and if that is the worst case scenario, you're gonna have a really cool story to tell everyone back home that you had to sleep a night in the mountains of Lesotho and stay in a hut.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
it sounds to me like a big adventure.
It is the Mother of Hard Enduro. It's one of the oldest hard enduro races in the world, and it's for South Africans especially, it's where a lot of people have made their career, started their career, and it's just been a really integral part of the hard enduro racing scene inside Southern Africa and South Africa for us. So, which is pretty cool. So when you are flying over, are you not taking your bike with you? You'll be taking or using a bike that Sherco South Africa provides for you, right?
I'm not sure. I know that they're sending some stuff from France. So I know that Coco, my mechanic, he will make the bike with probably with the same parts that I ride in Europe.
Right.
I imagine we will have to adjust the jetting carburation settings because from what I saw, the altitude is pretty high in Africa. Yes. What's the altitude of Lesotho? Like 1,500, 2,000?
I think the whole country is above 1,000 meters. So, because Lesotho is a small country within South Africa, and it's landlocked, so it doesn't have any connection to other countries. It's literally surrounded by South Africa, and these mountains are super tall, and it's beautiful, man. It is honestly one of the most craziest riding places in the world to ride your off-road bike. But yeah, starting at about 1,000 meters above sea level, and it goes all the way up to I think 3,500 around there. But yeah, it gets quite crazy with you have to definitely figure out jetting.
Yeah. The altitude is a big thing, and I don't underestimate it because I have been one time to Ecuador, and it was super high, like 3,000 meters in some places, and I remember that I had very strange moments of like lack of oxygen throughout the race, where I just felt like I breathe, but I don't inhale enough. So I guess it will be similar in South Africa regarding this.
It is definitely very similar to that. As I can confirm, 1,000 is the whole country above sea level, and then up to 3,500 meters. So you're working with about 2,500 meters of straight up altitude, and it definitely does take a toll on your body. But you were speaking a little bit about your bike or some parts that you're bringing from France. What parts to you make the difference of making that bike comfortable for you? So like we're talking about maybe handlebars, foot pegs, suspension, like what is most important for you to have on that bike so you're comfortable?
Handlebar, foot pegs, suspension, tires and mousses. Probably we're gonna bring Michelin because that's what we ride with, and sprockets.
Yeah,
those are the main things, just to make the bike feel like my bike, because when you're a pro rider, you get used so much to the feeling of your bike that even when I ride my training bike and then jump on the race bike, I feel that the bike is different, even though it has everything the same, like all the parts are the same. We just get so accustomed to to the bike that we're currently riding and putting the hours on. So when you jump to a new bike, it feels different. So we just try to eliminate this feeling of difference or put it to the minimum, so I can adapt as fast as possible. Because when we go to a race in a foreign country, I don't have 1 week to ride the bike. I usually have 1 day of testing, like get the level of the levers, adjust the brakes, the engaging point of the clutch, and things like that. And that's not a lot. And then I need to race it. So we just make sure we make it as close as possible.
Hey, cool. I think that's really good insight to people that are busy setting up their bikes for the Roof of Africa, that these things need to be checked and double checked again to be comfortable for them. But Teodor, I think that wraps it up for our interview. I want to thank you so much for coming on to the World Hard Enduro podcast for the first time. And I want to wish you good luck, man. And I can't wait to hear your stories, to be honest. When we meet again, I really am excited to hear about your experience with Braai and also seeing the locals and just your feeling about the country and the race itself. So good luck, and we're going to be rooting for you.
Thanks. I wish myself to not tell you stories about where I slept in that I have slept in the houses. I plan to sleep in the hotel every day. Sounds more appealing to me.
It's definitely better room service there in the hotel, I tell you that. Anyways, I'm going to hop on to the next section of the podcast, and we'll touch base soon. Cheers, Roop.
See you soon. Bye-bye.
And that concludes your, Brandon, interview with Teodor Kabachiev. What an interesting personality.
I must be honest, I don't think I've ever interviewed anyone quite like that, where they are asking me questions about the race, because that put me a little bit off guard. I really hope that he gets all the answers that he needs before hitting that start line. And I think the number one thing that he's worried about is what food he's going to eat, and does he have time during the race to fill up his camelback and get some food and fuel onto his bike. So I'm pretty sure the team on the ground will be able to support him with that. But what do you guys think? I mean, first time for him going to Africa. I mean, it seems that, it's very new to him. Well, what are your thoughts?
I think his quote that he said, "Africa seems wild," is pretty spot on, to be fair. And I think that he's going to have a very interesting experience in SA. I think what you said about just like the people, they're so welcoming, they're so friendly. I really hope that he has a really good experience at the Roof, and that he shares, his experience with others, and that, more people are willing, international riders are willing to travel and participate in this event, in the future.
I think that he's probably going to see Africa at its rawest state. And I think it might be overwhelming, but I mean, he's pretty well prepared. You sorted him up there. He knows what a braai is now. He knows what to expect. And at some points in the interview, I didn't know if he was interviewing you or you were interviewing him. But Taryn, I think interesting personality is an understatement. But great to have him on the show. I think it's going to be a wild experience for him. And like you say, hopefully this will bring more international talent over in the future.
I definitely think we should reach out and get him back on the pod for maybe a quick recap of his experiences, because I'd love to hear what's going through his mind post Roof of Africa. If it's everything that he thought it was, it's completely different, or how it actually went for him.
And where he ended up sleeping.
I think I may be over-exaggerated. Maybe not a lot of people sleep in the mountains.
I mean, over the years, definitely.
Yes.
Like, it's a common thing. It's a common topic of discussion when you are at the Roof. It's like, oh, those guys slept in the mountains last night. It's not uncommon to hear that. So, the fact that he's aware of it, I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, I've been at the start of day 2 when I'm about to start, like my time has come up to get going, and people are coming down the hill, and I'm like, what's going on here? And those guys definitely slept up in there. But let's also speak about his attendance in this race. He came fourth inside the FIM Hard Enduro World Championship for 2024. He's on a new bike, new team. He seems fired up and pumped. He's been training super hard. It's quite interesting to see him actually attend this race and to see where he comes against some of the South African guys.
Yeah, I think as well, like we've just seen him jump onto the 2025 Sherco bike, and it's going to essentially be his second pre-season testing for next year, I guess. And yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see how this guy adapts, because it's not for the faint of heart, the Roof of Africa. I think besides just the challenge of the race itself, there's so many other factors that come into play, and it's going to be, I would love to get him back after the race to see what he has to say. One, I would love to know what he actually, because when he asked you about the food, like what was actually in his mind, like what image did he have in his mind of what food to expect, because it sounds like there's something bizarre going on up there. So I think we should definitely try get him back and see, before and after, what his impression is of the place.
Yeah. Let's speak about a little bit of what is Roof of Africa for those who are tuning in that aren't South African and haven't gone to the Roof of Africa.
And even if you are from South Africa, a little bit of a top up of the memory and some facts, I think, couldn't harm. So obviously for us, we know, I would say it's close to home, this race for us. I mean, quite frankly, we're not going anywhere. We are here in the studio covering it from our home, but it is kind of a close to home race called, the Roof of Africa, the Mother of Hard Enduro. The dates are 28th to the 30th of November, and it is in none other than Lesotho. Originally scheduled actually for November 6th to 9th, but interestingly enough, the organizers actually took a lot of feedback from school and university aged riders and altered their dates in order to cater for these younger riders who quite frankly are shaping the future of the sport. So I think to accommodate for more riders to attend, such an important race in the South African, racing community, I thought was a really cool adjustment to make.
I'd also like to add now that the minimum age to enter the race is also being dropped. So they're taking a full 360 view of, getting these juniors and the youth into these races. I mean, Wade Young waited until he was 16 to enter his first Roof for Africa, which we know is history, that he won, beat Graham Jarvis and basically started his hard enduro career there. So now someone at the age of 14 could now the opportunity is open for someone younger to be the youngest Roof for Africa winner.
That is true.
I love that they're actually adapting to the times, right? Because I think back then hard enduro wasn't necessarily as big or as much of a thing as it is now. And there weren't many platforms in South Africa or races in South Africa where these youngsters could display their talent, and it wasn't really a thing. So now that the sport is growing, it's cool to see that the organizers are actually changing their rules to adapt to the times and get the younger guys into these real life scenarios of what they could be presented with if they go into the Hard Enduro World Championship.
That's very true. And speaking about the race itself, it started in 1967 and is the oldest Hard Enduro event globally. How crazy is that?
Yeah, right on our back door.
Just a hop, skip and a jump over there, right?
Yeah,
right?
super
Wow. So a little bit more information, spanning 250 to 300 kilometers across 3 days across majestic Maloti Mountains. Riders are going to have an unforgettable experience attending the Roof of Africa, racing the Roof of Africa. It is obviously a relentless, never-ending race. What seems like, especially when we spoke to Cody Webb, he was like, it just seems like it never ends. And riders can expect to race above 3,000 meters altitude. So definitely is quite a demanding race, to say the least.
I think that the altitude is going to be a big factor. I've never personally raced the roof. I know you have, and maybe you can relate to it. But I just think I rode my mountain bike at 4,000 meters elevation. So I can only imagine 3,500 for 8 to who knows how many hours a day on a motorcycle. I think it's going to be so challenging, and I can't actually fathom the idea of actually doing it.
Yeah, we've spoken about it a few times on the pod, but not only is it your body, but it's your motorcycle as well. Like everything takes a toll. Your bike loses power, you lose power, and it's quite a intense and intimidating thing, especially if you're not expecting it. If you're out there and you think, oh, I'm strong, I'm feeling good, and you get to those altitudes, you can quickly turn to a negative side of your kind of race strategy or your racing feeling, because you might have to be like, okay, I need to actually tone down not 20%, but maybe even 50% just to try to retain energy and to keep yourself. Because 8 hours on a bike is, that's a long, long day.
I think this would be a good time to mention that this year, 2024, the race is actually going to be quite different, because from what I've heard, majority of the terrain is going to be new terrain, new trails, sections of the mountains that have either never been ridden before or haven't been ridden for many years. And the idea of this was to create more of a level playing field between, veteran riders who have done this many times and new riders who maybe have not done this before. So I think it's going to be interesting for everyone this year to see what the roof actually has in store for them.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think not only has that racetrack changed, but also around the houses has changed to a different location close to the Mercia Mall. And I think, you could almost see it as a rebranding of the roof in a way. It's not rebranding from a visual perspective as as a spectator or for media, but as a rider. I think that they are going to be, it's definitely one to be entered into. I think if you have raced previous roofs before and you want something different, I think this is the one for it.
I like how you put that, a rebranding of the roof, because it does essentially feel like that, right? Like you say, more of not necessarily rebranding the whole of the roof, but just the way that it's done inside, right? And for the riders. I think that's such a good way of putting it.
So I want to move a little bit now into the classes and just give a little bit of explanation as to how things work now that we have, 14 and 15-year-olds who are actually able to enter into this race. What does that actually mean for those riders? So we have 4 classes in the Roof of Africa. You have the iron, bronze, silver, and gold. For all classes, riders 18 and older, they can ride any capacity motorcycle, any capacity CC.
Yes.
Motorcycle. Then for iron, bronze, and silver, between 16 and 18 years old, they can ride a 2-stroke 125 or 250cc and a 4-stroke 150 to 250cc. As well as for all of the classes between 14 and 15 years old, the maximum capacity is a 200cc 2-stroke. So this is just like a general rule for all of the classes for the roof. Then we can go specifically into some of the, the specific classes. So we have iron. 14 and 15-year-olds, they need to be competing in a national enduro or hard enduro championship at a minimum of a bronze level, for example, at the Impi Hard Enduro. That's what the iron qualification process looks like for them. Moving into bronze, 14 and 15, they need to have competed in a bronze Impi Hard Enduro as well as a bronze SA National Hard Enduro. So you can see now, okay, the next level is now requiring more, expectation, more requirements. Heading into silver, they need to have obviously the National Hard Enduro Championship, a gold class MP Hard Enduro, and a silver or gold SA National Hard Enduro. And then for the gold class, it's quite similar to the silver actually. So your National Enduro or Hard Enduro, gold class MP Hard Enduro, or silver and gold in the SA National Enduro. But I think for gold, it's kind of on an invitation only basis. They don't just get to enter into gold. I think the race organizers will determine whether they think that you are capable of racing that level of class.
Chris, I have a question.
Shoot.
You have a free entry into this year's gold class Roof of Africa. You've somehow jippoed the system and entered no races before this, but you are in the gold class. What brand and CC and model motorcycle do you pick to enter that race?
Wow. I think I already have an answer. I'll tell you why I won't choose a Sherco. And this is purely because of my lack of knowledge, is that it needs a, what is that thing called? It needs to be jetted. Correctly? Correct. So I wouldn't choose a Sherco because one, I don't know how to jet. And second, I know you're probably going to have to do it somewhere in those mountains. I don't know. Bike number 2 I will not be choosing is a 4-stroke, just because by looking at the masses, that's one that is not very popular. I think that the ultimate bike to go for would be a 300, even though I probably can't hang on to it for that long of a time period. And probably KTM because it is the current Hard Enduro World Championship bike.
Good point.
Good. That comes from our motocross enthusiast. So I think that's pretty valuable actually for what most customers are maybe thinking when they are purchasing a bike, to be fair. Consumer behavior.
Wonderful.
So actually speaking about the 300 KTM, and I saw when I was doing research about the Roof of Africa, Alfie Cox has his like racing like package for the Roof of Africa, and I saw that he was offering the 2025 KTM 250 XCW or 300 XCW for his riders.
I would probably take the 250 now that you mention it. Actually, just because of my lack of time on a 300 and knowing that it's an absolute animal, and I remember riding your 250 and I absolutely loved it. So I would probably take that 250 two-stroke all the way.
We'll just give Alfie Cox a call and say,
Just
hey, you got
bouncing off the limiter.
an extra competitor to add to your list, bud.
Yeah, so 2025, we're going to have that random entry into a gold class from Christopher.
You know, that's not I think gold class is a long shot, but I would not be opposed to trying it, actually, at some point.
Hey.
Don't hold me accountable and don't use my words against me. But
Yeah.
I mean, if there was one race that I would be open to trying to do, why not the Roof?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm probably getting myself into a lot deeper water than I can swim in, but
Yeah.
fuck it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so
Competitors.
no schedule.
Schedule.
Schedule's
Quick run
important.
through on
Quick
schedule.
run through the schedule. So you have Wednesday when you're arriving there. You've got your registration, press conferences, and riders briefing. I hope that the riders briefing is information filled, short and sweet, and that you can get on your merry way getting ready for the Roof. Because
Some good points
I'm just
there.
gonna say it. I've been to enough riders briefing, and I wasn't a rider, and those can be tedious. So I hope for all of you riders out there that it's like a quick wham bam, get it done and ready to go.
Yes, it's such a good point actually. Riders briefings can be a bit dry, right?
Sure. They can just be long and just
It's
filled with info.
and it's so like important actually, but it's just the way that it's delivered sometimes. It's like a
monotone.
yeah, right?
Right.
I reckon a rider's briefing is the perfect time to chow on a bacon and egg roll and suckle your coffee. It's
Yeah.
a good time. Maybe with the earphones in.
Yeah, not listening to anything.
But no, we're not condoning don't listen.
no, no.
Definitely listen.
Yeah,
Definitely listen. Okay, so Wednesday, riders briefing. Thursday, this is kind of like the prologue day, I guess. You have round the houses and time trial. Round the houses, as you said, Rannon, is in a new location.
yes,
Closer to the mall, if I'm not mistaken, which is kind of helps for teams to set up and riders to kind of get around more easily. Starts at 8:15, and then the last class is the gold class. They start at 12 o'clock for round the houses. For time trial, the iron class starts at 10 and the gold class starts at like 2:20, more or less. Then we move on to Friday, which is classified as the first day of racing. Gold and bronze start together at 6 a.m. Silver starts at 6:40 and iron starts at 8 o'clock. Brandon, can you give us a little bit of an understanding of what riders could expect from a day one of racing at Roof of Africa?
Day one, so as we heard from the track director, Graham Hedgecock, they refer to day one as racing day one, so
Yes.
the first day in the mountain. Is
Yes.
that what you're referring
yes,
to?
Yes, the Friday.
The Friday. So what we've heard is that it's going to be the toughest day for most of the classes. Gold have extra pieces inside the next day two of racing, which are still going to be quite tough. But for, pretty much iron, bronze, and silver, they, as Graham would like to say, pack your teaspoon of cement in your bum bag for that day because you need to eat that and harden up on day racing day one. Definitely expect that. And with the weather, it seems to be that it could be raining. So track is not changing whether it is raining or not. So you got to suck it up.
Okay. Day two, we have gold class and bronze class starting at 6, silver class at 6:40, iron class at 8 o'clock, and then jumping right to the end of the day, 7 o'clock is prize giving, and 8 is when the party starts.
Imagine starting your day at 6 and then your
Sure.
party until 6. That would be
Sometimes that's when my party starts. It starts at 6 and ends at 6. It's a full night shift.
night shift. And
You
now
go
you've got the
through the
day
night.
shift to night shift. That's pretty
I think I've
intense.
doubled down sometimes. Done
Yeah.
a double shift.
The younger day in the good old days.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so who are we looking out for here? So we know Teodor's there. Who else is what's going on?
Of course, Wade Young.
Wade Young.
Wade. We cannot, you can't have the roof without Wade.
Way. No, can't.
There's no way.
There's no way. And he's obviously the force to be reckoned with, yeah?
Yo.
8-time winner of the race, youngest winner of the race.
Also coming off of a strong FIM
Whoa.
Hard Enduro Championship season. I mean, his best season yet. So he should have all the confidence going into this race.
Yeah. This is
I'm
going to be a tough
just-
guy to beat.
I'm just going to state the obvious. I think everyone's already thinking about this, but it just went off in my mind.
Yes.
And this is Wade Young and Teodor head to head
Yes.
battling. Like, I don't want to say there is a rivalry. I'm going to make one because there's definitely, some history there.
Yeah.
Like, and these are ultimately the two kingpins that are going to go head to head
Yeah.
on Wade's turf, but it's not necessarily his turf because it's a new layout.
Right.
Yeah. It's tough. It's tough for me to think that Wade, no matter where you are in Lesotho, will not do well. I think for Teodor being a first time there, but let's see. Who knows? To be fair, want to bring up the South African riders. These guys are good at the roof of Africa. The youngsters. Taryn, name a few of them.
The youngsters, I just want to speak about
Go
the
through them all,
locals.
yeah.
The top names. So
the OGs.
looking at the list of riders, there are some that stood out. So first we have Brett Swanepoel.
Dog.
Almost came second last year. If I'm not mistaken, he came third, but lost to Matthew Green by, I think it was like 3 minutes.
Wow, that's close.
After over 2 long grueling days. So I think he's back with a little bit of extra fight in him this year.
And good point mentioning Matthew. Matthew will not be racing this year due to injury and then surgery and then healing process.
Yeah,
So,
recovery.
but he will be there in spirits and actually physically he will be
There.
supporting.
Yes, that's true. But he just won't be riding.
Yeah.
Okay. Then we have Daniel Peckham, who is Swanepoel's teammate. I think last year he came second in the silver class, and now he's moving up to the gold class. It'll be interesting to see how he transitions from a silver to gold class change. We have Travis Teasdale,
Sure.
James Moore, who actually came 4th in 2023. So he's had a pretty good track record, especially now also racing some races in the Hard Enduro World Championship. He's got a couple good races under his belt. And then I want to end off with Thomas Scales, who came 9th in 2023.
Those are some heavy hitters.
Those are big names.
I think
Top dogs.
Yeah, I mean James Moore for me is one to look out for. Brett Swanepoel, OG, he knows the lay of the land, and I think he's there to prove a point, as Mercia mentioned in the interview. Yeah, I think, but Wade, man,
Wade. But also Travis.
Wait,
Local
Travis,
boy.
right? You're not
And
wrong. You're not wrong.
he hails from the home of Hard Enduro.
In South Africa, in that region.
Hilton.
Hilton,
Correct?
yeah, that's it.
Or incorrect?
No, you're right.
No,
No,
I'm
you're right.
completely right.
But yeah, so these guys are all there fighting. So for me, like Wade's, just in my head, I don't want to make a boring story here, but Wade's got it. And then like the fight is then for the podium. Like Teodor is going to be fighting hard with a lot of local guys, I think.
I agree, actually. And I think, depending on the weather, it's going to be interesting because I think last year was the first dry race they had in a good couple of years. So it's going to be interesting to see if it stays wet, goes dry. But in the famous words of Teodor, they're rocks. They're either
rocks.
wet or they're dry.
Yeah, that's true.
That's it.
And that's it.
That's it.
And that's it.
They're either wet or they're dry.
Simple.
Yes.
He knows.
Yeah.
It's one or the other. Just get through it.
Yesterday. That was brilliant. And then spectator points.
Yes, ending off, we want to speak a little bit to to the roof's spectators and supporters. So, as far as I know, there's going to be an advanced live tracking system as well as a big screen with updates on information for each day's event. So keep a lookout for that if you are there. Also, spectator points. you should probably have a 4x4, because what I heard is that cars are going to struggle a little bit to get over some of these tricky terrains. But if you go onto the Roof of Africa's website, you can find a Spectators section which has coordinates to spectator points for both day 1 and day 2, and then a kind of a general idea as to where the riders will be at what checkpoint, so you can try and keep up with the riders on the race. And then the last thing I want to speak about, which I thought was super interesting, is the adventure ride. So they've got this adventure ride that kind of runs alongside the Roof of Africa race. And the idea is that you get to ride your own adventure bike or enduro bike for, I think it's like 3 days. And you get to, 1, explore the Lesotho mountains, and 2, also kind of touch base with those top riders while they are actually in the race. So you kind of get to watch the race and do a bit of a tour on your own bike, which I thought was super cool. And they have a glamping option as well. To be fair, I would not mind that because it looks like a pretty good glamping option. But yeah, I think a really cool event. I'm very excited to be following it. Unfortunate that we're not there, but overall, yeah, I think it's going to be a good one.
I think that ADV class or spectator thing that you're talking about is definitely I think a really good option for Chris on his first roof.
I mean, I was actually thinking about it, like if you're out there as a spectator and you're because this happens to me usually. If I go to a race and I watch a race, it makes me want to ride, right? But maybe you don't want to compete at that highest level for, like, maybe you just want an hour or 2 of riding. And that seems like the easy way out. It's like you get your fix of being able to ride, but also not to the point where you're absolutely wrecked.
It's kind of like you go to the bar and you see everyone else drink, so you're like, well, I want to drink.
Yes.
And then you're like, well, I'm okay now. I can, but
no, but very rarely do I want to put in a 2-hour shift at the bar.
Yeah, true.
Usually
that's kind of your game. That's where you're riding gold.
Yeah.
That's where you're riding in the gold class.
Exactly.
Okay, but that pretty much wraps it up for today. Guys, if you are on the way to the roof, safe travels. And for the competitors racing, go have a good time. It is a memory-filled time of your life to ride motorcycles in such an awesome place. Honestly, as South Africans riding that race in that location, it is world class, and don't take it for granted. If you meet Teodor, please make sure that he gets his food that he needs. He gets a bra, and make sure that he is well equipped and he's got all the knowledge he needs to make sure that he can get through this race successfully.
Support our guy. Give him some extra help there. Just give him a helping hand. He's in a new place, a new country. Just help him along.
The guys out there solo.
He's part of the team. He's part of the crew. He's part of the World Hard Enduro community. We help each other. That's hard enduro. We help each other.
Yeah, you're right.
I'm saying we because I'm just a spectator, but you help each other.
No, you help us. You help us. If you guys found any value inside of this episode, it would be really cool if you had to rate us on any of the podcast platforms or give us a like on YouTube or wherever you consume your podcast. It would really help us. It really does boost our morale here inside the studio and keeps us going. So, yeah, that would be really cool.
And don't forget to subscribe because we do cover hard enduro related content, and you're not going to get it from anyone who's more entertaining than us.
That's
a bold statement, I know, but I'm going to say it.
I agree.
And don't forget to
add gas.